Welcome to the Government Connection with Mary Scott Nabers. Mary, a former statewide office holder and now CEO of Strategic Partnerships, brings you conversations with industry experts. This is your connection to breaking news, funding opportunities, legislative actions, and more. Brought to you by Government Market News, a division of Strategic Partnerships, Inc.
Good morning, and thank you for coming back to the podcast with us. We've got a real treat for you today. I am going to introduce you to two illustrious attorneys, two of the most interesting, intelligent guys I've met in a long, long time. And we're going to talk about something that public officials need to know. And we've sort of joined forces to try to get this word out because there is a lot of money available to municipalities, to counties, and to water districts. So with that, I'm going to let each of you introduce yourself, and let's jump right into this issue and the $13 billion that is available to public officials right now. So David, why don't you start us off, and then we'll go right over to Steve.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you for having us. My name is David Grossman. I'm an attorney in New York. The firm is Grossman and Kelly, and we've been in business since 2003. So happy to still be here. Thank you, and Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Tugend. I'm with the law firm of Kegler Brown Hill Ritter. We're based in Columbus, Ohio, where I chair the government affairs legal practice of the firm. We have for years, since I've been with the firm, advocated for local governments seeking ways that they can generate additional resources to meet their bottom line, initially from advocating in Congress to state houses, and now also through courts of laws and settlements related thereto.
Okay, and so what we're going to talk about today is the PFAS contamination that is in all of the water across the country. So let's start off, David, by talking about the lawsuit, how the $13 billion became available, what to expect next, and who's eligible. And let's also talk about a timeline that is ticking very quickly now.
Great, thank you so much. So as many of you must know, PFAS has affected all of our lives. It's in all of our bodies. It is in every city in the world. In the 60s, it seemed a wonderful thing when Teflon came out, and it spread into a variety of things, and it grew and grew to the point where it's pretty much in every aspect of our lives, from raincoats, cleaning products, cosmetics, and newspapers, toilet paper, but also it was used in firefighter foam, AFF, aqueous fire forming foam, AFFF. And for decades it was believed safe and used daily at airports and military bases around the world. And it seems that's the greatest root of this problem is everyone thought it was biodegradable and had fun spraying it around and swimming in it and using it heavily, and all the airports had to use it all day, every day, as they tested their fire suppression systems and for airplane de-icing. Unfortunately, it turned out the stuff was deadly and toxic and a forever chemical and is not biodegradable. In fact, it's the opposite. So it made its way into the earth and has created plumes all around the world. And now, as a result, cancer rates are soaring higher than ever. Obscure cancers became common cancers. And it's a grand problem. So many different states and cities and landowners started suing, and individuals started suing. There was the Camp Lejeune case for soldiers impacted, and firefighters for wearing turnout gear made out of PFAS. PFAS is a wonderful thing. It's indestructible. It lasts forever. Unfortunately, humans don't get along with PFAS, and it kills us. But it's great stuff, So it had a use, but its dangers outweigh its benefits in most circumstances. So in any event, lawsuits started happening all across the country. Ultimately, that was consolidated into one case, multi-district litigation 2873 in South Carolina. And that happens every time there's many different types of people suing and different entities suing the same companies for similar things. The easiest way to resolve the dispute in an organized way is by creating a multi-district litigation, and that's done in federal court. Now, if anyone sues any of these manufacturers for a claim related to a FFF products liability, it would automatically get transferred into that court. So you had a variety of claims there. You had plumes in land, water systems, wastewater systems, airports, individuals with cancer, all sorts of claims. So out of these, the first settlement was reached. And it's a pretty complicated structure, how the settlement works. It's specific to public water systems. And we've signed up a couple hundred cities, I'm happy to say, coast to coast, making a real effort at this. And digging into the materials and really getting a handle on the process and who's eligible and what the rules are, because it's complicated. By the way, all of the details of the settlement is available online at pfaswatersettlement.com. That's the official website where all the settlement documents can be found, the timelines and everything. And on there, you'll see July 31, 2026 is the current deadline for Phase 2 public water systems to participate. And what that means is a little complicated. We'll get into it later. It really is simple in the end after you boil it down and explain it to folks. But after speaking with hundreds of cities for the last year, I got to say almost everyone had the wrong idea. They were wrong in some way. Something critical was not accurate. So we really have been working hard to spread the word, trying to get the accurate information out to people so they can make a educated decision. And Mary, thank you so much for inviting us here so we can do that.
Yeah. Steve, I'll turn to you to answer this question. I want you to explain that there's $13 billion available right now, and many cities do not know how to get themselves in line to get some of that funding. So we've been trying to help get that word out. But would you explain to our audience, what is involved? What do they have to do? What should they do?
Well, actually, it's a fairly straightforward process, and I would actually categorize almost all of the potential water systems. If you have a public water system in the United States, then you should be talking to council if you have not already filed a claim for PFAS contamination, and whether you have PFAS in your water or your source water or not is really irrelevant to whether you should participate in this settlement, and I'll go over that. But when we are onboarding clients, the way it works for us is that we sign an engagement letter, a typical engagement letter, and we provide a lot of services up front for those clients to get them in line to file a claim. The first thing we do at our expense is we test their water. If they have a detectable level of PFAS chemicals in their water, then there's going to be a claim in the first facet of the settlement, which is called the Action Fund. And what we do is we take those test results, we analyze the actual capacity of their water system and how much water they actually pump on a typical day in terms of gallons per minute. We meld that together, and we actually can calculate with pretty good accuracy the financial benefit that they would incur, the size of the claim that they're going to be able to generate for the Action Fund. But that's just one segment. There's actually two other facets that are very, very meaningful in the public water system settlement. The second one is if they've invested money, capital dollars, in improving their water system over the last 10 years, provided that they do have PFAS in their water, then and we've seen many clients where they actually have a larger claim for capital investment than they do actual for the water settlement itself for having contaminated water. We can make that claim for them as well. That's called a special needs fund. And that's what that is out of. Another component of this $13 billion settlement with the PFAS defendants. And so we'll make that claim as well. But here's the thing that's fascinating, and this doesn't happen very often. Even if they test negative, and that's why I said everybody that has a public water system should be filing with the court. Even if they test negative, they can actually file with the court for a contingency claim. It's called a supplemental claim. A lot of times, you won't, and not a lot of times, most water systems have PFAS in their water. In the cases where they don't, there's a significant chance that they will eventually see PFAS creep into their water system. It's tricky stuff. PFAS is like liquid Teflon. It's water resistant, it's oil resistant, it's heat resistant, and therefore it can kind of slink its way into somebody's source water without notice and very quickly. So as a result of that, if you have no PFAS at all, you want to plan for the contingency that you might have PFAS in your source water between the end of July and clear out until December 31st of 2030. That gives you 4.5 years of effectively coverage for that contingency. But it's critical that you register with the court for that coverage by the end of this month.
And so, Steve and David, as we've been helping you try to get that message out, here's what we've been saying. There's $13 billion there now. There will be more. And if you have not signed up with an attorney somewhere to get you absolutely in line and perhaps moved up in line to get some of that allocated funding that is just sitting there waiting for you, why not? Why? And many of the times we've heard them come back and say we don't have time, or what's it going to cost us? And we have had to answer, there is no cost up front. You do have to do nothing. They're going to handle it for you. Your attorney is going to handle it.
Yeah, let me touch on that, Mary. That's right. What we do as a team is we cover all the upfront costs. We cover the testing. We cover the interaction with the court's portal to make a claim for those local governments. What we have is a process, and it's an extraordinarily efficient process, so that we can actually have minimal contact with the client in order to get a minimal amount of data to submit the claim. We use a lot of publicly identifiable information or publicly available information for those clients, so we minimize the contact that we have with them. We do keep them apprised of where we are in the claim process. We do need to know, because we don't have it, we need to know what kind of what the level of water capacity, pumping capacity they have, and how much water they pumped over the last 10 years. That's something that we aren't going to know. We need their W-9 and one other related form, which is relatively easy to get from them. And then we're kind of done until the final conference call, where we go over the form to make sure that everything is accurate before we submit it to the court. We don't want to perpetuate a fraud on the court or anything. So that's important. But yes, it is a very simple process to file the claim. We have talked to a number of cities. Sometimes they get scared out of their own shadow on this. Sometimes they're concerned, oh my gosh, will there be negative publicity on the fact that we're filing, the city's filing this claim. Our firm we're covered by attorney-client privilege. We do not communicate with the public that you have filed this claim. And we try to keep everything confidential to the greatest extent of the law. Some cities decide to issue press releases that they're going after that money, but that communication will not come from us, and it will not come from the court.
And David, I think that our audience would like to hear a little bit more about, we're into July now, and there is a deadline coming up, July 31st, and then they're going to be left out. But there will be ongoing opportunities for PFAS. Can you speak to a little bit of that?
Yes, absolutely. So this settlement is with the first four defendants that settled, which were DuPont, Tyco, 3M, and BASF. There are other defendant manufacturers in the case, and a settlement is likely, or certainly there will be a resolution. We believe it will result in a settlement, and that will generate additional available funding for public water systems. Then beyond that, the other elements that make up a city were impacted in other ways, and those are also included in this case and another case that we're also handling. Those include typically wastewater departments, which uniformly almost all wastewater systems have been impacted by PFAS and have an ongoing cost and future problems with biosolids and changing regulations. That's all part of the case. Also, fire academies, where fire training was done for decades with AFFF foam, they have significant remediation exposure and liability exposure, where if they do nothing, they could be blamed for the plumes that are surrounding and expanding from where their epicenter begins, which is their facility, and be blamed for the spread of PFAS. And ordinarily, what a landowner would do is go around and make a claim against the entity that started it all, and the whole purpose of an MDL is to give closure. So if a client like that, a fire academy, doesn't participate now, it could be too late to come in later after this case is over. So you have fire training centers, airports, landfills, any former military bases, which many of our clients actually ended up occupying former military land where the foam was used heavily or stored or spilled or manufactured. So any place where AFFF foam was used or manufactured is a potential client. Each city is a unique snowflake, right? So we have to look at each one carefully and see what they have, how they've been hurt, and how we can help them.
So I know we're running a little bit close on time. I want to be sure that we explain to people how they can get 20 or 30 minutes on a virtual call with the two of you, and you can explain and speak to their unique situation, because it is amazing. We stay on top of everything happening to government, and we work across the United States. But I have been absolutely amazed at how many city officials did not understand that this funding is available, that they are eligible, that more funding is coming, but they need to get involved somewhere, somehow, with an attorney like the two of you, or they're going to be left out of this. And I have written many, many articles about the PFAS. It is very, very definitely going to be with us for maybe decades to come, and there are going to be costs. And why a city or a county or a water district would not want to spend 20 minutes and hear, okay, tell me everything, tell me what's available, tell me what you do, tell me how it works, what my responsibilities would be. I think that's the message we've been trying to get out is, you don't have to do anything, but you at least need to hear about this. And you at least need to know you are eligible. So you want to kind of wrap up on that, David?
Yes. Thank you. There's a lot of issues and political concerns which come into play here as we're meeting clients in cities, and it's a shame, because really all those issues should not impact whether a city participates or not. Many are worried that somehow this will create a stigma or will terrify their citizens, and they'll get criticized or blamed for things. None of that is true. By participating, no one is saying that a city has dirty water or dangerous water, unsafe water. A good portion of this here is intended to reimburse cities for the hard work and money they've spent with taxpayer dollars to make the water clean and nice, and we're simply reimbursing them with money from the polluter so that their taxpayers get a break. And it's a positive thing. Participation should be applauded. It certainly should not be stigmatized or feared. So it's just another way to look at it. It's all in the messaging.
And I might add, Mary, that that there's an additional concern that I would have if I was the local government, and that is, look, the money is not starting to flow out of the, most of the money is not flowing out of the PFAS public water system settlement yet. And when it starts to, and neighbors of that local government that decided not to file are neighbors, their neighbors are going to start bringing in their revenue, and their residents are going to wonder why they chose not to go after the revenue, and why they're suddenly, taxpayers are not going to be very happy about seeing that a city or a county, a public water system, did not pursue revenue that they didn't have to pay.
Right. And that is the message that I think is very important to get out. What are the taxpayers going to think if you just ignore the available money to fix this, to make your water more safe? It's quite a, I just can't imagine why a public official would want not to participate in this. But, okay, so I think there is a website that David gave the official one, the legal one, but you guys have a website up. Let's get, and we'll put that across the bottom of this. But talk a little bit about what's on that website, because they can go there very quickly and get the basic information.
Thank you. We made a countdown page letting people know that as of today there are 30 days, 12 hours, 27 minutes, and 30 seconds and counting before it's too late. and they're no longer. Now, I just want to stress, opinions may vary, but the deadline is clear for participation in this settlement with these defendants. This does not mean the case is over, and they may have other rights and claims that they could bring, but for this settlement fund to participate, that's the deadline. And that page is pfasclaimaction.com.
Yep. And one other thing, Mary, that is important that everybody know, because we may have touched on it but didn't address it directly, and it's something I can't emphasize enough. For this public water system settlement, that money is not, there are not strings on that money. That money it is up to the recipient to decide how they want to spend the money. Terms of spending it are not a part of the settlement, entirely within the discretion of the local government. So no matter what, they can spend it on anything they want. Now, let's all be realists. Will there be some political pressure, perhaps, in the jurisdiction to spend it on something that contributes to water quality? Yes, but they are not going to be under any legal obligation to spend that settlement money on anything.
The interesting thing is that right now cities and counties and school districts are all struggling for more cash. And there are critical infrastructure needs of all kinds, water infrastructure, but a lot of other types of infrastructure that they are expected to make available and take care of public assets and plan for sustainability and resiliency. So it's just been important for us to get this word out to say, whatever you decide to do, at least understand what your options are. So with that, we'll close unless you guys have any last word. And check out the websites we're gonna have on this site. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
This has been The Government Connection with Mary Scott Nabers. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe to get notifications on our upcoming programs. We hope you'll leave a review wherever you get your podcasts and send us any programming suggestions directly. Thanks for listening.